Hello everyone, welcome back to Crafts by the Bow. This week I've been talking about punches and I love my punches. I love Stampin' Up! Punches because they're really sturdy, they're easy to see. I always punch so that I can see from underneath. Oh, just let me open it and then you can see what I mean. Because then you can see exactly where you want to punch out. Some punches I'd used in the past, you punch them this way and it was a bit of a guess as to whether you got the picture you wanted. But Stampin' Up! Ones I love. And my very favourite punches are the circle punches and the label punches. And these are the ones that I use all the time. If you're just setting up with crafting and you need to think about, oh, which inks shall I buy, which punches shall I buy, I'm on a bit of a budget, so, I can't buy too many, I would go with circle punches and a label punch. I've got this classic label punch, which is a narrow one, but I would go probably for a bigger label punch because a narrow one like this, you could cut with scissors, you could cut freehand. But circles and a label punch and you can't go wrong. And when I was getting ready to video this, I just looked on my card rack and see, I use the punches so many times. I layer with them, I make labels with them. It makes it so easy to craft. If you haven't got punches and you are interested in buying some, buy from me this week, and for every punch you buy you will get an extra gift just because it's punch week for me. But the very best way to buy them, honestly, is to get the starter kit because it's going to be $135, but for that you don't only get $135 worth of goods, you get over $200 worth. And there's no GST on your first order, there's no shipping. You get a free paper pumpkin kit, you get business supplies and catalogues if you wanted to be a demonstrator, but if you didn't, you just put those on one side and you just use your money towards whatever you want from the catalogue. Stampin' Up! Are really good, they don't restrict what you can have, you just choose what you want for your kit. A few inks, some punches, some cardstock, a couple of sets of stamps and you're away. That's all you need. If you do need more details on that, drop me a message and I can show you what you can get and what you would need to have. Okay, but let me show you what we're going to do today. Because it's Sunday, I try to do something a little bit more simple on a Sunday. And this is where my inspiration came from. It's from a friend of mine in one of the Facebook groups I belong to called Stephanie Vandorp, and her, let me think what her craft site's called. It's from Hutchinson, and this is from the beginning of the year when we had the occasions catalogue. And she sent this, and you see, it's just punched circles. And that's the inspiration I'm using to make today's card. Now, I have done 2 levels of the card. One that I'm going to show you because it's simple stamping, and one that I'll show you at the end just so that you can see that you can step it up if you want to. And then you'll laugh if you know me because this is the set I'm going to use. And I did not want to buy this set. I looked at it and I thought, I can see that you could use that for spring and that's about all I could see. I didn't want to colour the birds. I didn't want to do lots of spring flowers. So I thought, no, I'm not ordering it. But then it came as a bundle with the stitched dies that I wanted, the nesting shapes, which are sort of like a rectangle, but they have the triangles on the end. And because you got 10% off if you ordered both, this set, it worked out about $20. And I thought, okay, I'll buy it, but I'm going to put it in one of my event evenings. I'll put it as a prize. And I'm afraid it's not going as a prize anymore because I've fallen in love with it. I do like colouring it. It is more than just spring. It's actually a lovely stamp set. So let me show you what we're going to do. First of all, I got all my punches out. I got my 1 inch, my 1 1/4, my 1 1/2. I missed out my 1 3/4. I got my 2 inch and my 2 1/2. And I got some scraps of the Bird Ballad DSP out. And let me just find the paper. Okay. It's a really pretty paper. I would probably have bought the paper even if I hadn't bought the stamp set. It's one of those kind of papers. So this matched the paper pumpkin, and this is why I thought, okay, I'll get that because it does match the stamps in the paper pumpkin. But no, it's pretty paper. Let me just, I loved this. I thought, you know, that's a really nice background paper as well. And then I didn't know quite which one to use, because this for the Hugs from Shelley paper pumpkin, but then I liked this one too. In fact, there isn't a paper in here that I don't like. I loved this one. And I can see I'm going to use that one a lot. So all I did was use some of my little narrow pieces. I didn't have many for that paper, but you can see I've also been making these cards with odds and ends that I've got from Perennial Essence paper. So you can see any shapes. I keep everything. Tiddly widdly little pieces, narrow pieces, long pieces. I keep them all. And I've made a set of shapes ready to make some more of the cards with that paper. So let me show you all the pieces I've got. I've got a 1 inch circle, a 1 1/4 inch, a 1 1/2, a 2, and a 2 1/2. And they're going to be our background on the card. And for the card, I'm using Calypso Coral. And instead of cutting it across the middle of the card, let me just open this so you can see. Instead of cutting it across here and folding like we normally do, I cut lengthwise at 4 1/4, and I scored at 5 1/2. And then I cut 2 pieces of Whisper White, and this is just a 1/4 inch smaller. Oops, my stamp set fell over there, sorry. So these are cut at 5 1/4 by 4. And I'd cut 2 of them because I want one for the inside and one for the outside. And then I've cheated a little bit and started to do my stamping and my colouring. And I stamped this one. And I know that I'm going to cut this out with my 2 inch circle. So I didn't need to have all of it on here. And it meant that I could just use a scrap of card for this. So let me do the colouring first, and then we'll attach everything. So here we are, this stamp, and I've started to do the colouring. Now, I'm not the world's best colourer, and I'm not really a very patient colourer, but I didn't want to colour all of it. So to work out what size I needed, let me get my little paper. I cut out the 2 1/2 inch size of paper, and I just used the circle as a template. So I put it over there and thought, yeah, that's about how much I'm going to get of the stamp. I don't need to colour this poor little bird down here because I don't want him. So, okay, so if I colour up to about where this leaf is, so that's what I've done. And I've left one little bird just to show you. And I'm colouring with the light balmy blue. And really and truly, it's just easy colouring because you've already got the shade in there from Stampin' Up. I've put the little lines on. So if you need to make something a little bit darker, you shade over those lines. And that's what I'm going to do with the darker balmy blue. Okay, and then I'm just going to go back over it with the light one so that we don't have too many lines. Now, if you find that, oh, I didn't want that quite as dark, I didn't mean to do that, you just get the colour lifter. And instead of using it to go round edges where you might have coloured over the lines, just go over where you want it to be a bit lighter. And you can see that it will start to take off the colour. You see how that's just lifting there. And it just gives you those lighter patches. I've coloured the flowers with Calypso Coral, and the little beaks I just did with one of the yellows. I think it was actually Mango Melody. And then I've got the light crumb cake to do the branches with. I did all the leaves with the Old Olive. I did it on the light first, and then I just went over a few little edges on it where it looked like the leaves were curled over. So this little piece here, I just went over those with the dark Old Olive. So that's it. It took me just a couple of minutes to colour them in. And I know I only saved one to show you, but it really was fast. Okay, then I got my 2.5 inch punch. Turn it over so that you can see the image you're punching. And then just put the card in and move it to how you want it to be. How much white do you want at the top, how much white you want at the bottom. And just stamp out. If this punches do start to feel like a little bit dull and like they're not cutting really sharply, easiest thing to do is get a little piece of tin foil. What do you call tin foil? Aluminium foil, and pop it in here and just punch a few times, and it will just sharpen those edges just enough to stop it dragging on the paper. Okay, now the very last piece of punching and everything is I used the hello from here, just this single little stamp. Stamped it on here on a piece of scrap. You can see that's where I cut my other one from, left that poor little bird on its own. Okay, and then just line up the writing. I want it not quite in the middle actually, I want it to go a little bit more to the right hand side. There. And that classic label punch is great for these small sentiments. Okay, so that's all I need. Let me find my white piece again. This is the piece that we cut for the front. And I'm just going to add these onto the front. Let me find my glue. I found it's best to use the Tombow glue because you can get, oh, not on that one, you can get right up to the edges before you glue. Just clear a little bit of space so I can see. And I'm going to start with the biggest one, and this, I'm going to put the big one over here. I think I'm going to have it this way around this time. You'll see that on my second card, I actually used this side for the front. Should get just a little bit of scrap paper just to rest on, so I don't get glue on my page here. Okay, and I'm going to glue that just over at the left hand side. Doesn't matter that it's overhanging. I'll just cut that off in a moment or two. I don't want all the circles to be the whole circle stuck all over the middle. Okay, then I'm going to take the next size down, which was the, oh, let me remember. Is this the 2-inch punch? Yes. And again, I'm just going to put glue onto the edges. Try not to put too much glue on the edges or it will just squeak out a bit. There. And you can build the circles up however you want. You will sort of get an idea for where you want certain colours to be as you're adhering them. I'm going to put this one up here. Let's put it over the edge a little bit as well. Not putting them on straight, just popping them on. And these two little pieces are going to go down at the bottom. Have one there, and this tiny little piece. It's going to go over here, just like that. And it will take a second or two to dry, and while it does that, I'm just going to press over it so that I know all the edges are stuck down and a piece isn't going to stick right up at me. Okay. Oh, there we go. And then with your scissors, I like to use a longer blade scissors for these. I'm just going to line my scissors up with the edge of this card and cut straight across. If you've got a little piece overhanging, just chop that off as well. There we go. Stick that on there. I think that's all the overhanging pieces. I've got little bits of glue on here. I have to just get my glue eraser. I think it's just from the little bits that I've got on my hand. Yeah. Okay, so there are our punched circles. And how easy was that to make a background? You know, tiny little pieces of leftover paper, and it's made you a pretty cool, one-of-a-kind background. Okay, so let's find our little birds. These little birds we know are going to go over here. This is where I want them to be. And I want my sentiment to come over here somewhere. And I don't mind if it's going to go over the circles or in the white space. But I want something to make this pop. So I'm going to use a little piece of scrap Calypso coral because that's going to be the same as our background. Let me find that classic label punch again. Just going to pop it in here. Cut a piece out. Let's cut two out, just in case I decide to put it on two pieces. You can see now why you don't get rid of tiny little pieces of card. They always come into something. See, now I wouldn't save that, so that can go. Okay. I'm going to put dimensionals on the back of here. Once you've got all these pieces punched out, it really is a quick card to make. And if you don't want to do colouring, you can use a different image and stamp it in a coloured ink, and then you don't even have to worry about colouring things. Okay, now I'm going to put this, I think I'm going to put it up a little bit just like that. And then our sentiment is going to stick out of here. And I'm going to add it just with the Calypso coral at the back. And I think I'm only going to put it on one piece. So I'm just going to put a little piece of glue down the middle there. Excuse me, I've got a really tickly throat today. And I keep losing my voice, which will be a boon for my husband when he gets home, because he won't have to listen. But it's difficult when I'm making a video. That to dry. Okay, and then I'm going to pop dimensionals on the back of there. I'm going to put one at each end. Oops. There we go. It wasn't quite dry and I squished it with my finger there. Take the back ends off here. Clear up a little space here. Okay, and then this, I'm going to sort of push it in wherever I can find a space that the dimensionals are not hitting it. There we are. And then let's get the inside of the card ready. Remember that second piece of the Whisper White that we cut? I'm going to put that inside. If you wanted to stamp a picture on the inside, that would work. Or you could do a few more little circles and stick those in, just so that the theme from the front is going to be the same. You'll notice that I'm using my snail for this. It doesn't have to be anything too strong, so a snail is just perfect. And then I'm going to put a tiny little bit of bling on. I'm going to use the basic adhesive backed sequins out of the annual catalogue. I'm going to use just the little orangey coloured ones. Let's see, I'm going to pop one where it says hello, and then just 2 on the rest of the card. There, and that's it. That's all I'm doing, and I think that's a really nice, easy background and an easy card to make. Now, if you didn't want to keep it as a simple card, you could step it up a little bit, and this is the one that I stepped up. It's made in exactly the same way, but what I did was I put a black card on here, the basic black, so that would have been where this white one is. So the black was cut at 5 1/4 by 4, and then my white piece I cut down to 5 by 3 3/4, and once I'd put the circles on, I ran it through the embossing folder. It was the subtles. I'll just slowly move it so that you can see. So that gives that just a little bit of texture. And because I put the black as an accent on the back, I also put a little black piece down here where the hello is. And the only other difference is you can see round the little birds here, I went round with my pool party blend, and I just did a line all the way around the whole of the stamping so that it sort of popped off the page a little bit. Oops, let's pop that back there so you can see. And then inside, as well as the white, it has the black layer. But I think they're both equally beautiful. The simple stamping one looks great. The little stepped up one looks just as good. If you didn't want to use an embossing folder, or you didn't have one, you could put a little bit of twine around here, tie a bow on. That would give you a little bit of an extra embellishment. You could still do a different layer of card behind it. You could do, let's see, you could put one of the pearlized doilies behind the birds. It's difficult now I've stuck it on, but it could go behind the birds and give you that extra little bit as well. So I hope you enjoyed that video, and I'd love if you could share my videos and give me a thumbs up. That way I know lots more people get to see the video, and it just gives me a little like a nice feeling that people are enjoying my videos, and it makes me want to carry on. Thanks very much indeed, everybody. I'll see you all again very, very soon. Bye-bye.